not treat ourselves better? Why do you think that we don't treat ourselves better?
I think we don't treat ourselves better because we've not slowed down to think about life. I think that's why we don't treat ourselves better. And sometimes we are so occupied with things around us that we don't treat ourselves. And the reason why some of the things, sometimes I come across women, obviously I'm now out of that circle, so I can see the picture clearly that a lot of women comes to me even to pay for their hair, or them washing their hair, or everything. As far as they're concerned, everything is expensive. One of the things that has made me to love myself more is the amount of cancers and illness that is going round. People at my age and people on medication and things like that. And I thought, you know what, I have to be grateful to start taking care of myself. And then the other thing I asked myself is, what's the hard work for? So why I'm working hard, that was my first question. And what for is my second question. And where am I going? That was my third question. So the moment I was able to ask myself those questions and then put the answer there, it just made me realize that, wow.
But I also think why women don't treat ourselves, because historically we never have. But I think that's what we do. I think we learn that from parents as well.
From your point of view, you think most times it comes from our parents, and then it narrows down to us. So obviously, viewers, lovely people, I think we don't want this to affect our children in any way. And I believe strongly that working hard is good, but you need to get the balance. I think my problem personally was that I did not have the balance. And when you don't have the balance, I think it even affects if you have a relationship, it does affect your relationship. It does affect your marriage. I've got a couple who just got married and they've just separated because the man did not realize that his hard work, or he's workaholic, and because of that the wife has left him, because the wife thought, if I'm valued to you, then why are you working so hard? So I realized that in life we just need to get the balance. If we don't get the balance, a lot of things do go wrong. So lovely people, please, let's sit down and because this is real life. This is the life. This is it. This is all we have here. This is the life we have here right now. So if we don't get the balance right to enjoy what we are actually working for, then what's the point? And those are the questions that I ask myself that really help me. But obviously, with somebody nagging all the time, you need to take care of yourself, you will burn out, you keep hearing it until something happened, like what happened to me. If I didn't come to the point where, I'm feeling that sensation in my eyes constantly, I wouldn't have gone for a checkup, because I know the GP will not. They will just tell you to go and rest, and I'm trying to rest and it still not work. Sometimes I even go to the office just to go and sleep for 20 minutes. I'll still get up and it's still the same. So not knowing, my mind wasn't resting. I'm not the only one in this boat. I'm sure there'll be some of us out there who are in this boat. So this is awareness for all of us. Lovely people, please, let's watch out for these things so that we don't get burnt out.
And I also, and that actually leads quite nicely onto the next thing. We've got all this going on. There isn't enough hours in the day. How many times have we said, oh, please, could we stretch this day just a little bit more so we get more than 24 hours out of it, because there's so much to be done. So a lot of that is about time management. Are you managing your time efficiently? Are you getting the help that you need? Are you saying, look, I can't do all this. I'm not Superwoman or Superman. I need help. That's the other thing. You need to say, I need help. You need, it's not a failing.
Okay.
But you need to say you need help.
Okay.
then sit down with a coach or a life coach or even with a friend and just say, like, how can I manage my day? You need to sort your day out, because I'm sure that if you manage with that, you can steal some minutes from days. So it ends up that maybe you could have an hour a day to yourself.
Right.
But it is all about time management. It's about asking for help to get that. So when you're looking at maybe stealing a few minutes a day, how do you think that people can actually do that? Do you think it could be a problem sometimes of time management? Do you think that they're not actually asking for the help?
I think,
particularly if they've got a partner, are they just letting the partner do whatever they want to do while they still take on the bulk of it? Because in my marriage, that doesn't work that way. Luckily I was able to retire early, which is fine. But when I was working full time, we were both working full time.
Yeah.
The duties of the house were divided. I would come home from work and my husband would get in before me, but dinner would already be started. Sometimes I'd come home, it's such a lovely man, and he'd have the washing on or he'd be ironing while dinner was cooking, and there'd always be a little drinky waiting for me. If it was a hot day, there'd be a glass of juice with ice in the fridge for me. And the same thing with him. So now I do that. So when he comes home, I always know the house is clean. Again, this is my mum, because the house is always clean. It's always warm. Dinner's always done. If it's a cold day, there's always cold drinks in the fridge. Do you know what I mean? So parts of my mum are coming out there, but they're the good parts. I always think the good parts. But I still manage to, in that day, to steal time. I see my friends. Particularly my long-term friends that I've known for 50 odd years, my almost sisters really.
Yeah.
Where do you think people can, if they're not lucky enough to be like me, retired, and we can make our own time management, where do you think people who have got children, whether they're little or big, can steal minutes to keep those minutes themselves?
Right.
And bank those minutes so they've got a nice hour or something at the end of the day.
Okay, I think it's because sometimes we don't ask for help. Because if you ask for help, it could be that your children are in the same age group. So those friends, you could always, because sometimes you could drop your children to a friend and then just have maybe 2 hours for yourself, and your friend could do vice versa. Sometimes you could ask maybe an auntie or a family member to have the children for the weekend, so you can have that time for yourself. But what in my case, I did not have an auntie or a brother or a family member to drop the kids. So I used to ask friends. I used to ask friends, can you stay with my children for maybe a couple of for this weekend or for Saturday or something, things like that. And because I travel a lot because of businesses and things like that, I remember I feel like that was my time when I travel, because I get an auntie to come and stay with the children, or anybody I know. It could be a friend, it could be anybody. I've asked lots of people to stay at my house just so that they can help me with the children. So I think sometimes is the fact that we don't ask for the help. We don't ask for the help.
And that's it. And and a lot of you, especially if you've got school-age children, if you're like, I can remember a lot of my friends are friends that I made at the school gates while I was waiting for my children to come out. And, we were all similarly the same. I was probably one working, but there'd be other people. But what we would do is we would share. So if I was working and it was during the holidays, then they would take my children for they would take my children, and then I would do the favour and take their children, and do you know what I mean? We would share kids. So you got that time to do
for yourself.
And also the kids liked it because they don't want to be around mum all the time. They want to be with their friends. Well, fine, off you go. But at least they're in a safe environment, and you knew where they were going because you knew the parent. So I think we need to steal time, but I still think it's down to this time management. I think we do waste an awful lot of time.
We do.
And I think we need to look at where can we shave off a few minutes
And love ourselves, you know. Yeah, just loving yourself.
Yeah.
And then, Chris, one thing that's I just popped to my head now. You know, viewers, lovely people, let me tell you something, and take this deeply from me. This is something that's I have gone through, and it works. You know, when you have your ex, and you have opportunity to let your ex have your children, it's another way. Because I remember, for me to have a weekend when you know, I broke up with my ex a couple of years ago, at the beginning when the kids were very, very, very young. He used to pick the children up every other Saturday. And I used to go to a friend all the way in Kent just to spend weekend with my friend. You know, she was not married, she didn't have children. So, and she's always by herself. So I used to go by her, and then sometimes we watch a movie together, we cook together. I remember that was, you know, my early 30s when I was doing that with her. And I found it really, 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 really helpful. I've got few friends who doesn't want their ex with their children. They don't want, because of what you've been through with your ex. Please, I'm begging you, don't get your children involved in this.
No.
Do not get the children involved in this, because let the children find out for themselves. Especially if the other party is willing to have the children. Allow them to, because it will give you time to have your time. And the beautiful thing is that sometimes when I'm traveling, he takes care of the children when I'm gone, and it gives me peace of mind. So that's one of the things that, you know, I think if you are single and you have your ex, please, even whether it's the mom is available or whoever, the family, happily let them have the kids so that you can have your time.
And this was shown, I think, when you were in hospital.
Absolutely.
And do you remember when you were in hospital, you couldn't go anywhere, you still had your businesses to run, and I can remember you doing it from your hospital bed.
Absolutely.
The time when you should have been recuperating, whether you were trying to run the business, and luckily you had a friend staying with your children. And you think, now you sit back and think, how did I do this?
Exactly.
How did I not drive myself balmy? This is where you have to, this is where your friends come into it, because as I said before, if anything happened to you, what would happen to the children? What would happen to the house? It would fall.
Absolutely.
You need to make sure that we are not all indispensable.
No.
As much as we think we are, we're not.
We're not.
And we're not infallible. We are human, and we really need to make sure that we look after ourselves, because if we don't look after ourselves, nobody else is going to do that for you.